Welcome to the Labyrinth. I'm your host, Pratham Padav. If you would like to support my podcast, you can do so by buying my t shirts. The link to purchase my t shirt is in the description. My guest today is my friend Arun Payas. Arun, welcome to the Labyrinth.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
So, Arun, I know you, but the audience has never heard of you. Can you give us a brief description about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Arun Pais, and I stay in Mangalore. I did my electrical diploma from KPT Mangalore, and I have been leading a normal life after that. So in 2017, I came to know about cryptocurrency, which has actually changed my life. And after knowing all the information and why cryptocurrency was made and it was developed, so it's something like I went through the rabbit hole, and which has led me to the red pill, what you call it, and so that has led me here today on the podcast. And what I am about is my idea is to make a better alternative to the existing system. Right, we have a problem, and we are creating a better alternative. And for that, I have joined an organization called Nexus, which is a blockchain company, and I am working with them to create a better system for our world and for our future and our children.
So, what do you think is wrong with the current system?
The current system is about the authoritarian regime that we are facing today, especially with the pandemic, how they are pushing the global governments are pushing people into authoritarian regime. And it is we are being forced into certain things, like for example the vaccinations. We are forced into vaccination, even though they say you have the freedom for everything and we have our rights, but still, even if you went, if you go to the RTI, which is done by the central government, the rules, they say that the vaccination is not mandatory. But here we are seeing that we are not allowed into malls without having a vaccination certificate. So this is a type of authoritarian government which is we are seeing right now, and these are the problems we have to counter. And most of the people are not aware of these problems, and they are just going and they are accepting what the government says. So most of the people are not aware of the rights. So this is a huge problem because only a very small fraction of the people are aware that we are into going into a world where the governments are dictating our everyday life. So this is possible with the digital world today, and they are making all health cards and this everything, whatever they make, the system they make is about enslaving us. It's not about empowering us, it's about enslaving us. So most of the people have no idea about the depth the government is going into, the enslaving people. And the same way, we have to find solutions for these problems.
And what do you think the solutions are? Do you think blockchain and decentralization can be a solution for us?
Yeah, I feel that the blockchain and decentralization is about providing a solution. Now, for example, when Bitcoin was born, it was created as an alternative to the fiat money. That is, it was created in like an alternative. So if you don't like the fiat system, you can have the blockchain, the Bitcoin system. That is a decentralized system where nobody owns the Bitcoin network, but people can use it without anybody having to take permission or some manipulation going on. Because Bitcoin has 21 million Bitcoins, whereas it is locked. So you know that that value is there, and no manipulation can take place. And the code is open source. So people who know the code, they can go and check this code and see that if there is any manipulation or malpractice going on over there. So maybe I don't know to code or you don't know to code, but there are a lot of people who know, and they check this software, and they are actively taking part in the development of this software. So what it does is it creates an open system compared to the closed system, which is the governments. Actually, the governments don't teach you about money. They never teach you about money, how money is created, how money is getting its value, what is inflation, how inflation is created. So all these things, normal people are not taught, and they don't go into the depth to understand what is money and even the share market. Now, what happens is government has done electronic share market, I mean shares. So you keep your shares with the government. Actually, you don't keep your shares with you. So you don't own anything. You just have a name on the share that this share belongs to this person, and that is totally controlled by the governments. So whenever you buy shares, it is kept in a depository service, which is NSDL or CDSL, and it is not under your control. In normal circumstances, what happens is you can buy, sell, and there's no issue. But what happens in case of a calamity, like you whole of India is having earthquake, or you have a natural calamity. At that time, what will do with that value you have in stocks? Whether the government is able to provide you at that time. So that those questions, and nobody answers all those questions. So we have to see that. Why the government is doing this, why they are not giving us the power, why they're not empowering us, and they're empowering themselves. So these are all the issues we are facing today. And what blockchain does is it gives you the power to hold your own assets. Like for example, Bitcoin, you are holding it in your wallet, so it is under your control. So but with power comes responsibility. So you are supposed to know what you are getting into beforehand. So what happens is you have to manage your keys in case of Bitcoin. So you have to manage your keys, and when so you may have to write a password, or you may have to write a public key, I mean a private key. All those records, you have to keep it in a safe place so that you have access to your Bitcoins. Whereas in a normal system, the government takes care of everything. They have a banking system, so you don't have any responsibility. So people are not accustomed to take responsibility for the power they want. So this is another issue with when it comes to decentralization, that you have to own responsibility for actions. So with power comes responsibility, and it is not only that it is about money or about certain things, but it is all about the future. See, when you say of the future, we are going into a digital future, completely digital future. There are a lot of technologies. We just can't close our eyes that to the technology like AI, which is very powerful emerging technologies, the big data. We can't close our eyes to that. We can just go in the jungle and live saying that we are free. But what will happen, whether even though we are living our own life, will these corporations allow us to live our life in a free world? No, they will not do it, because we as a civilization have entered into an age where we cannot look back and go back. So we have to move forward, and to move forward, what happens is all the digital world is controlled by these corporations and the governments. We are limited in our power to use all these technologies. So the only way is to own these technologies. When you own these technologies, you can dictate how this technology will be going ahead in future. Like what is the roadmap for this technology, how you are going to take it forward in the future, and whether it will empower us or whether it will enslave us. So there is only two options, that is empowering the people or enslaving the people. So we have to take it in our hands, and we have to show that we can do a better job as people. And for that, people have to understand that there's a problem. Before you understand, you will not know what to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
education is important. You have to understand the problem at hand, and you have to build a solution. And crypto, I'm not talking about all the cryptos are about empowering people, but there are some projects which are really about empowerment, like Nexus. And some projects have they have a roadmap where they give ownership to people. Like for example, Singularity Net is about empowering and owning the artificial intelligence technologies. Okay, Edge Network is there, so they are about giving you hosting and the cloud technologies. To what happens is, instead of a corporation owning all the servers and the value comes with that, here people own the network, and the people own gain a percentage of the what is that profit what is made by these networks. So people are running the network, they own the network, they use the network. So it is a two-sided I mean, what do you say, it is more of a two-sided approach. So you have to use it and you have to provide. So you provide, so for example, on the edge network, you provide computing resources to the network, and the same time you use it to host your website, host your application. So what happens is you are using, you are empowered. Okay, so you are not giving your business to some other organization where this organization can take full profit. Whereas in case of artificial intelligence is a very powerful technology. If we don't own this technology, tomorrow these corporations might enslave us with this powerful technology, and we will not be able to come out of a digital enslavement. It's very difficult. For example, now the governments are coming with something called central bank digital currency, and they call it a cryptocurrency. It is not a cryptocurrency. For everyone's I mean, knowledge, I'm telling you, it is not a cryptocurrency. It runs on the cryptographic, which is the mathematical cryptography. It uses that. That is the only what you can say, the word they are using, I mean, the technology they're using in CBDC. But it is not about having the open blockchain and everything. This is a permission blockchain. It is totally controlled by the government, and they will control every aspect of your life with this CBDC. So even when you are going to spend your own hard-earned money, they can put a limit on a certain expenditure you are doing. For example, you are buying alcohol, they can put a limit on your alcohol buying, and they can empower you in a certain way, or they can make enslave you. So we don't know how this is going to go in the future. So whether the governments are going to empower us or they will enslaving us. But as we have seen with the pandemic and all those things, the government is not about empowering people. It's about empowering themselves and the corporations who are feeding them. So without having an alternative, it's very difficult for us to move ahead in life. But I want all the people to join together, no? And mode. We cannot, as one person, I cannot go ahead and change the world. So what I've done is I joined with Nexus, which is where I met a lot of people who have the same ideology and the vision. So what we are doing is we are moving ahead and we are building solutions. I'm not saying that it can happen in 1 day, 1 year, 2 years. It will take its course of time, but we will build better. Better. What is that? Features and better systems where people will see that ultimately they will come to know, oh, this system works better for me. Okay, I can own that system, and I can have a better life in this system, and automatically they will reject the old system and they will come to the new system.
Yeah.
So that is what I am educating people about. So but it is very difficult to make people understand of all these new concepts and all those things, because it's completely new and people don't want to get into the new things, because it's as I say, it's change is is necessary for the system, and people also have to be ready for change. So
and people are not ready to face the truth also. Like you spoke about cbdc's are very dangerous. This will lead to digital communism or digital slavery, and it will pave the way for social credit score, where if I buy alcohol, my social credit score will go down. If I buy some government bond, then my social credit score may go up, and if I go and protest somewhere, my social credit score may come down. And people are not understanding this. In the past 2 years, we are seeing how people are accepting one mandate after another mandate, and if you question something, they will say, oh, you're questioning, you're a conspiracy theorist. Have you faced these kind of criticism?
When it comes to questioning the government or the establishment, they don't have questions. But when a person actually tries to educate them, they have all the questions possible, and because we are the minority, so they can question our narrative, but they will never question the dominant narrative that is run by the media, the corporations, the together. But you can see this time, the pandemic, you can see them that all the people, the media, the corporations, the government are in sync. They are working in well-oiled machinery. And this is only possible because this is a planned thing which they have planned from a long time. It's not happened overnight that, in a few days they have planned and they've got things out and all those things. But they are pushing people. But what I see that people are also pushing back against it. And we have a lot of new organizations which have come up, Awaken India movement, and we have Wake Up Mangalore. So there are small pockets of resistance everywhere, and they are gaining traction. Today, I see that on Twitter we have, what is that hashtag?
No vaccine mandates.
No vaccine mandate. So it is trending on Twitter. So people are realizing the problem right now. And but it will take time, I feel, for all the people to realize that and come against and stand up against this. But it will happen. That is for sure.
And we need a strong community, and that's the reason why you joined Nexus, because you like Nexus ideology. What exactly
Yes.
is their way of thinking?
Nexus is about what they say is you cannot fight the system. Say you are in a system, now we are in the fiat system. So we cannot fight the system because we as people, we are social animals. We need governance. We need like a social interaction. We need solutions to problems. Like for example, roads. We want what is that water supply. We want electricity. We cannot live without all these amenities and facilities. So who provides all these facilities? The government. So today, what we are seeing is this government, if it is trying to enslave us, how do we come out of the system? Can we just shun the system? We cannot shun the system because we need governance. I'm not saying that, but the problem what is with the system is, say today the BJP is in government and we feel that they are not doing a good job. So what we'll do, we'll remove them, we'll vote them out and bring another party. But has that done any benefit to us? No, it doesn't benefit us because everybody comes and there will be some changes in the way they deal with the people and all the government and everything. But ultimately, they have their own ulterior motives and they are actually empowering the corporation. What I see is all the corporations and the divide between the rich and the poor is just increasing. The delta is increasing day by day. So just by changing the face, we are not solving the issue. So the main problem is the system. So until unless you change the system, you cannot, you cannot change. Today, you see, we break down the government, we go on the road, everybody is on the road. Okay, they resign and everything. Tomorrow, somebody else will take his place. And then the same thing will continue. So again, then we go on the road. So this is the problem with the system. So what we are designing is a completely alternate system which is a far better system where people are empowered. So when people get empowered and they have a new system, they can move to the new system. So the system, what we are building is, it is a community-based system. So we need people to accept this new technology, come in and check out this technology, help us build this technology. So one person or a few people, it's very difficult to build the whole system. So Nexus is what is doing, it's like a toolbox. So with this toolbox, you can build systems, solutions for your use case, or even governance. Say for example, you want to crowdfund some road project, the government is not doing it. So people in the locality, they can crowdfund and in a transparent manner on the blockchain, and they can do the job and they go about their everyday life. Then there is a concept of DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. This new organization structure, which is totally autonomous and decentralized. So the thing is all about transparency and the reporting to the community. It is not about reporting to a boss who is on top, but it is reporting to the community. So what we are doing is we are completely creating a new system where there is fully transparency, and it is a merit-based system. So people who are having the merit, they go up and they get some responsibility with the power, and who are not doing the job, they will be automatically, they'll be downvoted, who are not performing. So what happens is there is checks and balances in the system. So this system works in a far better way, but that is a big story behind this. So I'm not going to explain everything, but this is how we are planning to build a better system with decentralized technologies. What I want to say is crypto is a big quagmire kind of thing. So there are rug pulls, there are scams, there are everything. But in all that shit, there is some projects which are really doing the, the real change. So we have to try to educate ourselves about these systems, what they really they have the vision to change the world and empower people. So we have to recognize this, and we have to see that these systems are accepted, and you build on them.
Can you name a few good projects by Nexus? I know that Nexus has Nexus Wallet, they have Bubble.io, they have some Bubble.io is codeless programming, right? Do you think that this will be
Yeah.
scaled at a large scale in the future? And do you think this can be used by everyone?
Yeah. See, for example, technology, if it has to be used by normal people, it has to be made what is that, easy for people. So normally coding is not everybody's cup of tea. People can learn coding, but it's like, for example, you are an entrepreneur but you don't know to code, so how you are going to go ahead in life? So this is the problem faced by most of the people, where a Bubble is, I mean, it is not linked to Nexus, but it is a separate independent platform which helps people who don't know to code to easily develop apps or websites using just drag and drop programming. So you have this boxes on one side, so you just drag, like you want a group, you drag it. You want a text box, you drag a text box and you write a text. You want an image box, you just drag it and keep it. And there is the layout and everything. It is made it very easy for people to understand and develop apps. So now what happens with this is, there is a learning curve like anything, whatever you do, but within a month you can make your own app. So if you are driven, you have the drive, so you can learn the no code by yourself. And what Nexus empowers with the Bubble is that Nexus makes it easy to build with Bubble any applications with the blockchain integrated into your application. So that is done using APIs. That is called application programming interface. So there are some commands, you just use those commands, and then you can interact with the blockchain. Say, for example, you want to have you want to send a transaction, so you can do that via a web interface which is built on Bubble using APIs. So it makes it very easy for people to build applications and use them. For example, Nexus is not an end product for any consumer to use it. It is just a toolbox. We can't provide every solution to every problem, because it will be a humongous job to do that. So we are just providing a toolbox, decentralized toolbox, where people can they can use it for their end usage. So whatever your usage is, so you may prepare an app, you integrate Nexus into that, so it becomes very easy. And the platform has been designed so that it can be used by people by giving free transactions. Free, simple, like sending Nexus, receiving Nexus, sending tokens is free. But there are some charges for certain things. Like, for example, you want to issue a token, there is a charge. Because if we don't put those charges, what happens is people will misuse the systems. Even for free transactions, they will send spam transactions. So we have a spam protection by putting a 0.1 Nexus fee for a transaction, which is the second transaction, which is if it is within 10 seconds of the first transactions. So what happens is, we have to provide security also. We have to provide spam protection. So all these things we have seen that it helps people, empowers people. So for example, if you go on Ethereum, for doing a normal transaction of sending Ethereum, you have to pay $20 to $30. So even if you are making a transaction of $5, you have to pay $30. So that is not about empowering people. It is empowering only the rich. So if you are, say you are rich and you are having some millions of Ethereum and you're sending that, so you are paying $30. So it doesn't make any dent in your pocket. But a person is sending $5, he has to pay $30. That really makes a dent in his pocket. So Nexus has designed the system. So it is difficult to design a system where you have to compensate the people who are running the network, like who are staking and everything. They have to be compensated. And how you're supposed to compensate those people when you're having free transaction? So that is a technology and the thinking has gone so deep into that, that you have to balance everything. You have to balance the fees, you have to balance the, I mean, what the compensation given to the network provider, service provider. So that balance, that is a delicate balance, has been built into it, and that is because of the vision. Vision is about empowering people. So if it is, if that vision was not there, then it would be any like any other project which is driven by venture capitalist funding. So anybody can build a blockchain with some money thrown in and everything. But when it is about empowering people, it's the thinking is different. It is all about giving it free. Okay, the transactions are free. So that is what we are provided there. And to as you asked me in this one, that what are the projects now? Nexus is not ready as of today, and we are going next update. We are bringing the developer tools. The 5.1 release will be launched. I think it will be mostly next year. So when it is launched, we'll be bringing in the P2P marketplace, so we can have token transactions and even physical and digital marketplaces. Anybody can build it on Nexus. So it is a slow process, because when you're building something which is very big, it takes time to build a system. And because this is like completely new system which is being built, I mean Nexus, the code, even what happens is most of the blockchains are copycats. Because the code is open source, you can take a code from Ethereum and just build a blockchain. So it is as easy to build a blockchain, and you can change certain components, because obviously you will be having some team who are, know the blockchain basics and everything. So you can change certain things, like the number of coins you can change, then consensus algorithm you can change. But what you can't change is the vision. And for that vision, what the Nexus has done is it has built a completely new technology. Like, there is no private key to hold for a holder. What he does is he has a username, password, and PIN. And why we have done this is because people are used to this username, password, because you are transacting with the bank with the username, password, you are transacting with email with username, password. So they are familiar. The people are familiar with the system. So we have created a system.
So Arun, what is staking?
Staking is, for example, when you start a network. So, for example, all the crypto networks are digital networks. So you need, and they are doing some calculations. The computation is there. So how do you ask people to keep? Because it is decentralized. The organization which is starting, the providing the software, they cannot keep the computers and say that you use our system. It doesn't. It makes it a centralized system. So how do you compensate people to keep and be part of this network without any permission required, or permission, or anybody needing to contact you as a team or anything? So what it does is staking is like, say, for example, I see that Nexus is a good network. I like their ideology. So what I do is I just buy a computer, or I use my computer and I download the software and I keep it, run it on the system. So staking is like, because you are providing a computation for the network, and there is no other, like, cloud services or anything else which provides the computation for the network. So you as the staker is providing the computation required for the network. So what we have to do is, it's something like a skin in the game. So if you just switch off the network, your computer, the network loses its computation power. So you have to have a proper balanced gamification, what you call it. So you have to compensate the people to keep their computers running. So if you're not compensating the people enough, so they will shut down the computers and your network will suffer. You understand? And what is the skin in the game is, so for example, tomorrow your token price goes down, or Nexus price goes down. So everybody should not just close their computers because the price has gone down. Should not come and this one close the computers and stop the computers. What will happen is, in that case, the network will lose its strength because of the more computers which are goes offline, which were previously supporting the network, they go offline. So what happens is your network dwindles, and then obviously people will lose trust in your network. So
Yes.
staking is a method of keeping, compensating people for the work done or time spent on the network, securing the network. So that is what staking is all about.
Okay.
But in crypto, there are different type of staking. Most of the protocol chain, the staking is about the security for the network, and security plus computation provided for the network. So similarly, we have mining also. Mining is another form of what is that? Strengthening the network. I mean, providing security. But there, they are not doing any useful work. But what happens is, in case of Bitcoin, there was nothing before Bitcoin. I mean, no other invention which they could make use of to, make it secure. So this is they are solving a puzzle every time. So every 10 minutes, the puzzle will be solved. So that is that is the block reward which will be given to the person who is solving a puzzle. So the puzzle will the difficulty will increase with the number of more computation that comes into the network. The network becomes, the difficulty increases.
Okay.
So less mining, what happens is the difficulty will ease. Just a moment.
Okay. So now when we buy a Bitcoin or Ethereum from a cryptocurrency exchange, we are not actually owning it. WazirX or some other company, I'm assuming they will own it. And it's owned in our name. If I want to buy a Bitcoin, and I'm guessing I have to get hold of a wallet, how do I do this?
You have the own. What happens is there are two type of wallets. One is the node wallet, that is a full node. So I would prefer that people, you go to the bitcoin.com or org website, bitcoin.org website, and download the core wallet. So in that core wallet, what happens is you are downloading the whole blockchain. So you have the whole blockchain downloaded, but obviously it takes a lot of resources. Like I think the blockchain database, Bitcoin database is almost I think 200 or 300 GB in size today.
Okay.
So what happens is you have to have that resources with you. So if you are able to do that, that is the best wallet. But then there are something called a light wallet. So these light wallets help you, own your Bitcoin. But these wallets will not be directly connected to the network. So there will be somebody who will be providing us proxy server, and those proxy server will be connected to the network. So it is an indirect approach instead of the direct approach. So I would not recommend these approaches. But then if you want more security and you want the real decentralized, then you have to be responsible for your Bitcoins and your crypto.
Okay, yeah. And for Nexus, we can obviously have our own Nexus wallet itself, which is easy to use also.
Yes. Nexus, what they have done is they have not gone the light wallet way. What even the mobile wallet they have, that is actually similar to the desktop wallet. It's the same code which is running on the desktop, which is run on the mobile, but it is using a light database. Means on the desktop we are having a database. It is a full database. So only the block headers have been used. So what happens is any transaction which is taking place on the mobile, it is sent to the network, because your mobile wallet is connected directly to the network. It is sent to the network, and the network does the calculations or whatever to be done. But your device, that is mobile device, will do the transactions, everything, and it is sent to the network. Okay. So there is no third party involved in between. So it is directly your mobile device and the network which will be communicating with each other.
So if I want to send you Nexus coins, I can send it from my wallet to your wallet. But if I want to convert these Nexus coins to Indian rupees or US dollars, then what do I do?
Then you have to send it to the exchange where, say, for example, Nexus is available in Binance or Bittrex. So you send it to Binance on Bittrex. Then you have to convert it to what is available, because most of the on-ramp and off-ramp. On-ramp and off-ramp is the fiat to crypto or crypto to fiat gateways that is only available in your country, because you can't withdraw Indian money from, say, for example, a foreign exchange. So you have to bring that, convert it to Bitcoin or any other currency which is available, cryptocurrency which is available in Indian exchange. So WazirX Litecoin is available. So why you would prefer Litecoin is because sending a transaction is cheaper on Litecoin or XRP. So most of the people, what they do is they find the cheapest way to send it across, and then you can send it to INR, and then you can withdraw your money. But as of today, what is the problem is crypto is, is not easy to transact with because of the government regulations and all those things. But going ahead, and when more people come into crypto, it will become more easier to transact and own it. But as of today, it is difficult. I will agree to that.
Okay, yeah. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest criticism of skeptics, especially crypto skeptics. They say, how do we use it? Can we use it to buy things? Can I use it to buy vegetables or an automobile?
So that is possible as of today, but then the problem is the government will not allow that so easily. But as people, we can empower ourselves. But obviously, we have to see that, for example, Nexus can be used because you have a mobile wallet. A vegetable vendor can keep a mobile wallet, and you have QR codes in that. So just like Paytm, we can pay over there, and because it is fast, within 50 seconds, your transaction will be done, and that is normal time which is taken for a transaction. 50 seconds is not a big deal. Whereas in Bitcoin, it costs you money to send a transaction, and secondly, a transaction takes a minimum of 10 minutes. And normally, what happens with when you're sending a transaction, they wait for 6 confirmations. So the minimum confirmation, 6 confirmation takes 10 into 6, that is 60 minutes. So are you going to wait 60 minutes for a vegetable transaction? I don't think so.
What does the future of Nexus look like?
Nexus is about people. So what happens is people will use Nexus. It's not the governments or the corporations. So when what happens is, compared to other networks, why anybody would come to Nexus? Free transactions, okay, easy to use, easy to build on Nexus, and we are, as a technology, we are far ahead. Why I am saying that is because we have quantum resistance built into that. So the next generation will be like computers will be quantum computers. These computers will be like, if you take all the computation what is available on Earth today, and you multiply that in 1,000,000 times, that will be the power of all these quantum computers. So these computers can break the encryption what we are using today, that is the SHA-256 encryption, can be broken within a few seconds. So what happens when the encryption is broken? And your network becomes useless. Like Bitcoin will become useless when there is a quantum computers, because what happens is when you send a transaction, it is dependent on cryptography, and anybody can break the cryptography. They can take your, they can steal your Bitcoins. So what do you do in that case? So in that case, you have to be, what happens is you have to be ready for the future. So Nexus is already ready with the quantum resistance, but they are not hardwired to a particular cryptographic algorithm. What they've done is they have abstracted that cryptographic algorithm from the keys and the wallets, the accounts. And due to that nature, you can just update the cryptographic algorithm with just a wallet update or a setting in your options. In the option in your settings, you can update, change the cryptographic algorithm. So with this kind of technology, what happens is tomorrow any new technology comes, you are ready to accept that new technology, that post-quantum cryptography into your system. So we are always will be far ahead of the competition, which Bitcoin or any other crypto projects are not ready for.
Are there any other cryptocurrencies that have impressed you? Maybe Solana or maybe Edge?
Every cryptography, crypto projects has the advantages. It's not that, but the vision, what is more important, I feel. It is not about, Solana is not about empowering people. It is about, it is not decentralized also in the sense of, real decentralized like Bitcoin or Nexus. Why it is not decentralized? Because if you want to run a validator node, you have to go to the foundation, and through the foundation you have to run a node. So you are taking permission to run a node on Solana, and it is very expensive to run these nodes. It is you have to run it in the data centers. No doubt, Solana is the fastest blockchain as of today. I accept that fact that it's fastest, and we as Nexus will not be as fast as them. But the problem is they're not decentralized. If decentralized is the motto, then Nexus is the apt platform for that. Bitcoin only does is what it does is it acts like like money. So it cannot solve your other problems. Say, for example, you want to use it for some smart contracts. You can't do that. You want to do some build an app. You cannot do that. So Nexus empowers you. Solana empowers certain things. I'm not saying that they can't run the things what Nexus can run. They can run. But when there is no decentralization, complete decentralization like Nexus, it doesn't attract me as an individual. And what happened is they have taken VC money. Once you take VC money, it's all about the profit. They only think about profit. Nobody is going to look at what people are getting out of it. Okay. So you have to see the vision, what it is all about. So if you don't have that vision, it's different. But if you want to do certain things, it is possible with Solana or in a Polygon or anything. So you have to see what they stand for and whether it matches your goals. If it matches your goals, then you can use that platform.
What is a node?
What is a
node? Node.
Node is like, for example, staking. What you are talking about, staking, right? So a computer which is running that, say, for example, the Nexus wallet is called a node. A Bitcoin node is one which is running the main core node. Core node is the main with the full blockchain data. So that is called a node. So there's a computer running the program. That's it. Okay. That's called the node.
Okay. And what is a smart contract?
Smart contract is just how we are dealing with contracts. So similarly, these smart contracts are done in software. So for example, if I pay you money and you have to give me a land agreement, so that land belongs to me. So similarly, this can be incorporated in the digital realm. So that is a smart contract. So smart contracts can do a lot of things, but they are in a digital format. So that is what smart contracts are. So we as people, what we are doing is we are transferring value into things like, for example, you are buying a house. So how do you know that that house belongs to a certain person? He has given the money because there is a record with the government which says that this property belongs to this guy. He has brought it, and there is records. The seller has signed everything. So how do you do that in the digital world? Is through smart contracts. So smart contracts are digital contracts. That's it.
Okay. I want to talk about my own personal experience with crypto. Few years ago in 2017, I had put some money in crypto in some website, and that after that I forgot about that also. Even a friend of mine, he put some money in crypto, and I think his account got hacked or something. I think his account got hacked. So that was our first experience with 2017. It was a small amount, so I didn't care at all. But at the beginning of this year, there was a sudden hype with crypto because all major cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and a few other, I think Matic and Polygon, all of these prices skyrocketed at the beginning of this year and last year also because of the pandemic. And I thought, okay, fine, I'll use WazirX. I'll start putting some money into crypto. And this year, March, I put some X amount. And just yesterday, after talking about cryptocurrencies with you, I thought I need to know more about cryptocurrencies. I decided to sell everything. I sold all my coins on WazirX, and I made a 25% profit in 9 months, which is pretty good compared to mutual funds or something else. But I'm sure a crypto investor would be like 25% is nothing. But now what I'm really interested in is to reinvest that money, reinvest a lot more money, but I want to do proper research. I want to know the basics, the blockchain, what is a node, what is what is this company, what kind of projects this cryptocurrency is into. Now, if I want to do a lot of research into cryptocurrencies, where do I go?
You have to go to the individual project website, and you have to see what they stand for. Like, what they are giving. They are giving some service. So you have to see that what service they're giving, whether it is what you are looking for. And then you have to see that whether they, I mean, conform to your standards and your requirements. That is what it's all about. Most of the projects today in crypto are all about speculation. There's no business. Even, for example, Nexus, we have certain things running. We have invoices, we have, send, receive, and all those things. But it is whatever the price is we are low, no doubt. But Solana, Polygon, and everything, they have certain working, projects like DeFi, NFT, and certain things running on them. But whether how do you value these projects is a very difficult task. So what I would suggest people is to do the research into the projects. And crypto should be about decentralization. If it is centralized, there is no difference between the existing system and the crypto based system. Only what they are doing is they are putting a blockchain decentralized label on that one. And that doesn't make any difference to a normal person, whether he's transacting with a centralized system, which is, owned by anybody, or a system where it is, managed by VCs at the back end, and they put a blockchain and they say decentralized. But actually, what are we, even Solana, they call it decentralized, but actually it is not decentralized in the real sense. So these are all the things you need to understand, and you have to understand the technology, whether this technology is meant for another 5 to 10 years, or is it going to be redundant in the future, and everything. What new is going to come, because technology changes every day. So it is very difficult to keep in track. And if you see CoinMarketCap, there are more than 11,000 projects on crypto. So are you going to invest and research all this project? No. So you have to, what you have to do is, we have to segregate them into different, boxes, like, the protocol chains, the application chain, the DeFi protocols. Then you have this NFT protocols, NFT chain, this one, marketplaces. So what we have to do, then there are infrastructure projects, like, they like exchanges and everything. So whether exchanges will be there in the future, because what with the technology, what they're building is they are bringing new concepts like atomic swaps, which don't need exchange. There'll be on-chain order book exchanges, which will make this centralized exchanges redundant. But these are all a work in progress, and it will take some time to get this thing into action, and then people to use it and everything, because it's a completely new thing. Like, it's just that you are believing some software, something virtual, which you can't see, you can't touch. So it is difficult for people to, change into the system.
And do you have any recommendations? Which are the best cryptocurrencies to buy in 2022?
Best is depends on the people, what they want to achieve with that. For example, you just want to make money, you can hold any of this Solana or Polygon and everything, because they have the hype, they have the use cases, and they have the community with them. But if you see about empowerment of people and everything, then it comes to Nexus. And if you want to own the latest and greatest technologies like AI, then there is SingularityNet. Then if you want to go into the fog computing area, then there is Edge Network. So there are different projects which are giving you solutions in different fields and all those things. So you have to see all those things and what you want to achieve with that. Yeah. So it's like your goals have to meet this one. For example, if you are in Edge Network, you need to run nodes. So if you don't know anything about running nodes, it doesn't make any sense. So it makes sense to hold Bitcoin or Ethereum, and then when they appreciate, sell it off. So if you are more technically inclined, then it is like Nexus. You can do staking, you can do mining, and all those things. But ultimately, it is like every individual is different, and they have to see what they can do to enhance their portfolio also, and also to give better what is that. value to decentralization and empowering people. That is what I would say to people, that they have to try to balance a lot of things, and what are their needs, and what is their technical like knowledge into all those things. So you can't just buy Nexus and keep and expect it to go up. You have to work towards Nexus. You have to work towards running nodes and securing the network. When you are providing something to the network gives you back.
Yeah.
Whereas in Bitcoin, you don't have to do all those things. You just hold your Bitcoin, and when it goes up, appreciate, you sell it off, and you make your money.
Yeah. Earlier, you used to have a normal life, a normal job, a 9 to 5 kind of job, and now you're into this cutting edge kind of a job. You are doing something that most people cannot understand, and I'm assuming you're enjoying a level of financial freedom also. How would you compare this life to your previous life?
Now, previous life was a normal life. There was nothing. I mean, what do you call it? Say nothing new in that. It was just daily cycle. You are in a cycle. You get up in the morning, you go to work, and you have family, and then again the same cycle starts. There's nothing outside, something to look into. Okay, you have your parties, you go out and everything. But again, there's nothing to look forward to. When I came to crypto, I invested into crypto, and then today I have my financial freedom, which is far more important than working till 60 years with a company, and then there is no value. The company doesn't give you much value. Tomorrow, if they want to remove you for a problem, they'll just remove you. They will not even say thank you to you. So today what happened is, because of investing crypto, I have my freedom, and I am working towards with Nexus, so that I have my future and my children's future is far better with this technology. And I want to take it as a solution to the problems which we are facing in the world. So it is a double pronged approach, where whatever I earned through cryptocurrency, I am investing that into time and effort to make a better world.
Do people around you understand what you're doing, or are they very judgmental?
No, people don't understand. And they see, if I have a BMW to show them, they would have believed me. But I don't have a BMW, so nobody is going to believe me.
Okay. But
I wouldn't say they are judgmental, but see, everybody has their way of thinking, and they want to see what they have in mind, and they are programmed to do it. Like everything is about the way they want to see things. If tomorrow I have a BMWs, then obviously they will think that, oh, these guys made money. But if I want to say that no, I want to invest that money into making it a better world, nobody is going to believe me, because they say, okay, this guy just talks.
Okay. But you are happy with your life.
Yes, I'm happy with my life. And obviously working towards a system, and coming to know a lot of people who are highly intellectuals and everything, I find that it is I have to work with them step to step, and even my intellectual capacity is increasing every day by day. When I look into smarter people, I feel, no, I have to do better, I have to do better things, so that gets me going. So if I am with people who are like they are in a cycle, so it depends on I'm not blaming them and everything, but everybody has their place in the world. Like I may be into blockchain. That doesn't mean everybody has to come and jump into blockchain. They may be having their own, maybe they are having a better business, or get into something which really empowers them or empowers people, so they can do all those things. It is not that everybody has to jump into blockchain, but ultimately what is happening is blockchain and data, I mean, the what is this, blockchain will be the foundation of a digital future. We are going into totally completely digital future.
So yeah, we spoke about cutting edge technology and how technology keeps changing, and these things like blockchain and DeFi and AI, and whatever we have studied or whatever kids are studying today in schools, they will soon become redundant and outdated. And they're teaching a lot of useless things in schools and colleges today, which was outdated even 10 years before. Do you think our education system is useless?
I wouldn't call it useless, but obviously they are lacking, and they are decades backwards. I mean, back. I mean, whatever they're teaching today is not relevant in today's world, and that I don't know how we can compensate that. But what they're doing is they are teaching the basics, but then lot of things which is important, like the practical things are missing. For example, they are teaching my son coding in school, which is very old programming langages which are not even used today. So all those things, and even the teachers, they are not very well versed with the computers and the today's technology. So this is obviously a problem, but I really don't know how to find a solution, because what I do is I teach my kids a little bit of computers and Arduino and this STEM, what do you call it, science,
Technology,
technology, yeah,
engineering, maths.
engineering, this mathematics. So I am into this Arduino and all those things, electronics and all those things. So I teach my kids whatever possible from my side, and the internet. I mean, YouTube. There are a lot of resources you can use it, but obviously you need the time, and you need the effort, and you need those. I mean, the boards and all those things. So if it is there, I mean, it is, I think we have to take that initiative as parents to educate our children. The school and curriculum, we cannot change it all over, I mean, in a day or in a few months or in a years. So we as parents, we have to take our initiative and teach them what is today's technology and everything. For example, I teach my son about blockchain, and he is also involved when I speak to people and everything. So he has a very good idea about what is blockchain and the projects. And recently he is participating in a school projects for physics projects and everything. So I help him out with all these projects. So this is how we can, I mean, inculcate new things into them, and get them into the bleeding edge. But
Yeah.
everything is not possible today, but we can do what is we can we know, and we can do it. But resources and everything are available online, and there are a lot of courses. For example, Udemy, they have courses on coding and no code. Even for example, Bubble, I learned by taking a course on Udemy, which is it costed me around 450 rupees for a course. But I learned a lot of things with that 450 rupees. So there are a lot of courses, even for coding, and for children, for Arduino, anything you go, there are courses by people. So people have taken the time, effort, whatever they know, they are putting it as a course on Udemy, or even on, if you want to do in coding, there is Free Code Camp, which is on YouTube. They are having free courses online. But obviously, what happens is, after you go through that course, you have to use it for some use cases, and you have to take it forward. So that is thing that we have to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have any questions for me?
Questions is like, I want to educate people. So how to educate people? And as you asked me whether people, when we talk about cryptocurrency and everything, there is no positivity about it. Only negativity is what is being portrayed by people. I understand the negativity, they have questions and everything, but I feel that they have to, have a balanced approach to everything. And most of the people say, just, this cryptocurrency is a scam. Okay. So I asked them, what is a scam? No, it is used by terrorists. Okay. So before crypto was born in like 2009. So before that, there was no terrorism. I mean, come on, ask a question to yourself. There was no terrorism before. There was no money laundering before. Everything was there before. So this is just a tool which is used. Like, Bitcoin is just like money. Yeah. So for example, tomorrow a person uses his gun to shoot somebody, and then you can't go into the court and tell that, that the gun is the problem. Okay. So Bitcoin is just a tool. It's like a gun. Okay. Yeah. So you can't say that the Bitcoin is a problem. And even in the media and all, you see this. It is used for terrorism financing. It is used for, a lot of wrong things and everything. But people have to use their brain. They have to use the critical thinking to, come out of this media fed,
Propaganda.
answers and everything. And they have to question themselves and question people. They just can't take it, as this. And the other concept about cryptocurrency is private. It is not private. What is private? It is owned. It is not owned by. It is permissionless systems. So you can't say that it is private. And the government right now, when you see anything on the media, it is anything which is outside the government. It is cryptocurrency is what you call it, addressed as a private currencies. They are not private currencies. They are not owned by anyone. So they are not owned by. So even the government currencies are private currencies, you can say, in that manner, because the government owns them. We as people, we don't own them.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I want people to have a critical thinking. They have to question the narrative and everything, and get a balanced approach. I'm not saying everything is crypto is good. So have a balance, question everything, see what your goals are, understand what these projects are about, empowering people, or it is about making money, or is it like DeFi platforms and all give you some interest rate, which is far better than what you're getting in your what is that,
Mutual
fixed
funds.
deposits.
Yeah.
Yes. So people are making money with that. A lot of people are investing in this. So you just can't sit in a corner and say that there is nothing like this happening and everything. So you have to open your eyes and see what is there in the world, and you have to accept change, which is is the main thing which I don't see people doing. That you have to accept change. If when you accept change, so then you try to embrace the new technologies. If you don't accept change, it is very difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be very problematic for people who refuse to accept change. They'll become outdated. They'll become like dinosaurs. And the people who have accepted change, they'll be the ones who'll make the most of the profits. They'll be the ones gaining financial freedom at the earliest.
Yes. So yesterday I met one guy. When you see him, you will look like a normal guy, but he invested in crypto in 2017, and he was saying that crypto is about freedom. So I appreciate him. The freedom, that concept. He is not about money. It is about freedom. So freedom is completely different. People have to understand that money is different, freedom is different, and most of the people have forgotten that word freedom, I guess. So.
Yeah, shout out to Visu from Wake Up Mangalore. I believe he's the guy who you met yesterday.
Yes, Vishu is the guy. Yes, because I was amazed that the word freedom. It is crypto is about freedom. I mean, I never seen anybody say that it's about freedom. So I'm amazed.
Yeah, a lot of people only think about money. A lot of people think about pump and dump, how I'll make money from speculation. But the whole foundation of crypto is freedom itself, and people forget that. What?
Yes, that doesn't involve all the cryptocurrencies. So you have to see which cryptocurrencies are about freedom, empowerment, and everything. And there are different projects, and it is very difficult to tell people or recommend people you invest in this. But one thing I can tell is investing crypto is 100%. What is that term?
Profitable. What?
Not profitable. It is 100% risk. It's a risk factor you're taking. So I would say that tomorrow whatever the crypto you are investing may go to zero. So you may lose all your money. So the risk factor is there, but risk is in everything, because I put this across to people whom I come across, like, who want to invest in crypto. I tell that it's 100% risk. Are you ready to take the risk? Then you move forward with this investment. Why I do that is tomorrow I don't want people to come and tell me that, oh, you told me this, and then I lost all my money. But if you see in everyday life, you have to take risk. You start a business. It doesn't mean that because you started a business, you will be successful with that business. You have to take risk in everything in life. You buy a car, you are taking a risk. Tomorrow it may turn out to be a lemon. Okay, and then you may have to shell out a lot of money to maintain the car. So it depends. Everything in life is a risk. You go out on the bike, you may fall, you may die. So that is also a risk. So you cannot, just because there is a risk factor, you just cannot stop doing anything in life. You have to go, you want to do something, some adventure, you want to go on a road trip. Everything is a risk in life. So you take a calculated risk, and then when you calculate and you move ahead with knowing what you are getting into, I feel that makes it easier to invest in all these technologies.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that concludes this podcast. Thank you so much, Arun, for coming on the podcast. I've learned so much in the past 1 hour. This was very beneficial.
Yeah, thank you too also.
Yeah.
And I would recommend people to have an open mind towards crypto. That is what I ask people to do, and accept change. So if you don't accept change, you will be living in the past and the world will move ahead.
Yeah, exactly, man.